Caleb's out sick today, so instead of just a normal review, I'll do an editorial. Without further ado, welcome to Popcorn Shovelers, or Shoveler, Episode 4, Justice League. Justice League is the culmination of the DC Extended Universe's first 5 films: Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman, and it sure feels like it. The DCEU was created in competition to Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, but unlike the studio which it is trying to co-opt the success of, Warner Brothers didn't have the foresight to plan it out. It was only created because Man of Steel made decent bank at the box office. Man of Steel's success was mainly due to its style. Being directed by Zack Snyder, it led to an all-new, darker take on Superman. The problem with this is you can't have every film in a film franchise try to be that. Wonder Woman feels like the black sheep of the DCEU in this regard, being colorful and optimistic, as well as making gangbusters and actually being objectively good. Justice League was on track to be just as dark as the previous DCEU films, until the success of Wonder Woman making WB rethink their style, and on top of this, a terrible personal tragedy had befallen the director, Zack Snyder, forcing him to drop out halfway through production. So in the midst of it, Warner Bros. Was forced to find a new director. This came in the form of Joss Whedon of Avengers fame. Where Snyder is more of the visual and foreboding, Whedon directs with dialogue and characters in mind, making more vibrant and optimistic filmmaking process.
Gentlemen, what are you prepared to do?
No offense, but I don't play well with others.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that away, what are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
With Whedon came extensive reshoots and paradoxically a studio mandate that stated the film was not to reach over the 2-hour mark. With that out of the way, what is Justice League even about? Fueled by his restored faith in humanity inspired by Superman's selfless act, Bruce Wayne enlists newfound ally Diana Prince to face an even greater threat. Together, Batman and Wonder Woman work quickly to recruit a team to stand against these newly awakened enemies. Despite the formation of an unprecedented league of heroes, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash, it may be too late to save the planet from an assault of catastrophic proportions. There's no getting around this. This film just feels rushed. Some of this comes from the fact that the main cast has to have their Cliff Note origins thrown at you, but like I stated before, this film was mandated to be less than 2 hours long, cutting out a reported hour and a half from the movie, leaving to what feels like missing scenes popping up everywhere. Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon are stylistic opposites, making every other scene of Justice League feel completely different tonally, for better or worse. It's almost like a game at points, who directed what scene. It's rather easy if you know both their filmographies, but there are some all-too-telling markers like Henry Cavill's uncanny valley upper lip. Because of reshoots, Whedon had to bring many of the actors back to film new scenes. All of them had no idea that there was even going to be reshoots. So when Josh went to get Henry Cavill, he had grown a full-blown mustache for a role in an upcoming film of his. So instead of doing the reasonable thing, and I don't know, shaving his mustache for reshoots and wearing a fake mustache for his other movie, they spent millions of dollars on CGI to cover it up. Tells you where their over $300 million budget went. The CGI in general looks terrible for a film of this caliber of studio backing, reflecting mainly on the characters, but I'll get back to that later. The reason for this probably stems from the fact that originally it was going to have Batman v Superman's aesthetic of dark grays, muted colors, and dreary nights, when it was then blown up to be more colorful because Wonder Woman did well. The problem with this is that everything was created with those muted colors in mind, from the CGI to the costumes. This leaves Justice League looking like a made-for-TV movie. Batfleck is still pretty decent. Ironically, maybe a bit too cheerful for the character, but at least he's not branding criminals anymore.
I heard about you. Didn't think you were real.
I'm real when it's useful.
Gal Gadot is still doing justice to her character, but I still feel that she deserves a little bit more of a limelight.
I don't believe it. What are you?
A believer.
Jason Momoa brings a new take to the character of Aquaman, but his blatant movie setup probably feels out of place with general audiences.
It's good to see you playing well with others again. Just like a bat. I dig it.
Maybe temporary.
The character of Cyborg is cool, calculating, and above all human. Ray Fisher fills that role wonderfully, with his voice and 2/3 of his face that are visible.
Thanks, Alfred. But I'll take it from here.
Do I know you?
Ezra Miller's The Flash feels like Josh Whedon's favorite character, with many great scenes being attributed to him.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
Remember how last review I stated that the DCEU Superman lacks character and humanity?
Waititi does something that the Avengers movies were unable to do, both Thor movies were unable to do. He humanizes a god.
Yes.
And that's something that I feel, not even in the DCEU, someone like Superman, he's a very hard character to pull off in general, but in the DCEU, they're really hard, strained pressed at trying to humanize them, and Waititi just did it right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do they directly fix this through dialogue, but with Superman's actual actions and character moments, leaving you liking Superman more than 2 movies directly about him ever could, even if he's in the film for like 10 minutes. The new god Steppenwolf plays the Justice League's main antagonist. Too bad it makes Malekith look like a decent villain.
Please, we have families. Why does everyone keep telling me that?
The actual mythology of this film is pretty good. There's a few great character interactions, but overall it's a major letdown considering Wonder Woman. But I would rank it as the second best DC Extended Universe film. Not that that's saying much. If I were to give a rating to this film, I would say it's a small popcorn. You know, something you wouldn't want to spend too much money on, but 5, 6 out of 10. Both end credit scenes are great, even though one has Jesse Eisenberg being Jesse Eisenberg.